Ahoy, ladies, gents, and NBs. You've just entered the Last Save Lounge, a weekly interview show all about the games that saved our progress and a little bit of us. I am your host, Aaron TurboHoodie Amendola, and I'm happy you're here. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead, click whatever doodly do you got to click to support the show so it can grow into a giant, unwieldy podcast kaiju. And remember, new episodes drop every Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts, with clips and video episodes available on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Just search for the Last Save Lounge. Y'all, I'm very excited about today's I'm excited about every episode. I love doing the show. But I remember today's guest because a decade ago, oh my God, a decade ago, I was following our guest, Matt Peters, on Twitter back when it was okay. And Matt Peters was hosting the Games, Comics, and Puppy Dogs podcast with Archie Easter. And this dude just had such a positive and eloquent energy. I was new into the world of podcasts, but the GCPD was a really, I would think, foundational and formational podcast for me to listen to because it was part of the Chicago community. The Chicago nerd community is such a giant, fantastic orb of positivity and love. And in that orb was Matt Peters. So I'm going to introduce Mighty Matt Peters here as my video for the video portion of this decides to crap out and just introduce you, man. Matt Peters with your Ben Grimm shirt. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Aaron. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Man, I've been excited about this for a while now because I have enjoyed all the episodes that you've put out so far. I've also been very anxious about it because I know that eventually someone was going to get to the game that I wanted to talk about. And we got some close calls in there, man. I mean, the Portal episode, that almost did it. That almost did me in. Tetris, you know how much I love Tetris. But I think I got one today that just kind of like hits that middle, that gooey center that folks are going to be like, all right, yeah, that's definitely his favorite game.
You know, it's like you've got ideas in my head now because you are the reason I have like 3 Picross games on my Switch now. And like, if it's Picross, cool. It's whatever you want to bring. But like, it doesn't like, you don't strike me as the Picross guy. You strike me as a Picross enjoyer, but we'll see. Dude, I got some questions to ask you before we get into the big one. But is there anything you're playing right now that's really working for you?
Oh boy. Yeah. It's always such an interesting mix of games that occupy my focus. So Picross is always on the horizon somewhere. Now that I've got my 2DS back out of storage, I have it on demand everywhere I go. I can play any Picross game I want to play. So that's always just, hey, you know, somebody mentioned Picross. I'm going to play it. As soon as we get off this call, I'm probably going to play that. However, in anticipation of the upcoming Mario sequel, I have been dipping into Mario Galaxy a little bit lately.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. So, you know, this was on the Wii. I never got a chance to play it when it was on the Wii. So I've been playing the Switch version. And I'm really enjoying it so far.
So you haven't played Galaxy 2. You're straight going in with Rosalina and Galaxy 1.
That's right. That's right. So in the auxiliary Mario games, to me, she just came out of nowhere, basically. Just like, oh, who's this tall lady who's now racing go-karts with us? Like, she seems nice. Okay, that's cool. You know, I guess she can steal all my stars in Mario Party. That's fine too. Whatever. But yeah, Galaxy is a lot of fun. It's surprisingly challenging. You know? Yeah. So I don't know if it's the controls that have had to adapt to the Switch setup or if it was just always this tricky.
Man, it's always been brutal.
Oh, wow. Okay. Kind of surprising for a Mario title, but yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Some other stuff that's been taking up my time, Silent Hill F. I've been enjoying that.
Nice.
God of War, that recent Sons of Sparta that came out. That's a lot of fun. I didn't realize, someone told me today, I don't know how true this is. You'll have to confirm this or not. Is it multiplayer or is it just single player?
So here's the thing, Ben Grimm. It is multiplayer, but only after you finish the game. Because then there's like a horde mode thing that you can have 2-player, but you can enter a code in, I think, at the title screen to unlock it early. Because I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I love the 2018 God of War. I love Ragnarok. And I got, like, when they showed Sons of Sparta at that PlayStation State of Play, I like immediately bought it. and I haven't played it since because I thought I was going to be able to play it with Liz and like tag team a Metroidvania search action game.
Yeah.
And I just haven't gotten to it yet. That the backlog is shameful
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. Yeah, and like I'm still in the throes of Pocopia. It was a problem for the first week where I couldn't bring the Switch into the bedroom because I'd like get ready for bed, brush my teeth, and be like, I'll just work on my habitats. And I like had to keep it on the dock. I can't have it near me.
Yeah. I'm the same way, man. If I'm trying to focus on something, I need to have all games away from my immediate reach, or else I'm going to gravitate towards a system. I've got a backlog that contains Power Wash 2, and that's shameful because I was all about the first Power Wash game. And so I really need to dig into that one as well.
Yeah, but you know it. You know what I mean? Like I know you and some of our buddies, Sean and Jamie, like they like obliterated Power Wash Simulator. And I think I did it in reverse. I played Power Wash. I liked it. But the moment they said a sequel was coming out, I'm like, I'm just going to wait. And I've been using that game to catch up with my wife and my sister-in-law. We'll do 3-player co-op online. And it's just such a chill game to get on like a scissor ramp, clean a giant art museum, and like we can talk about our day while not worrying about like, we play a lot of Fortnite in that regard too. But in Fortnite, you're always like, do I have to save somebody? Do I have to do this? Do I got to do that? Power Wash, man, I don't want to do it in real life. I'm not that
Absolutely
active,
not.
but
Right.
like you give me that in the game and I'm there all day.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've kind of had the opposite reaction. It's like, maybe I should learn to do this in real life. My wife was like, "You would have done this by now
Yeah,
if you
right.
wanted to. So just stick to the Xbox. You'll be fine."
Well, dude, I've known you a long time and I know a little bit of like the mythos of Matt Peters, but I did a little bit of research before this show. I wanted to like dig in a bit and I was looking into your history and I had one question that is, I feel like a little bit of a reach, but we can edit. That's the beauty of podcasts. But I got to know, how did working for the Chicago Stock Exchange affect you as a gamer? Because I know me. I play a game online called HSX, the Hollywood Stock Exchange, where
Yeah.
you bet on like movies, put them in a portfolio. And that's kind of how I learned about like interest rates and shorts and pulls. So as somebody that worked for the Chicago Stock Exchange, how has that influenced your gaming life?
So it's interesting you asked that because throughout my time at the Chicago Stock Exchange, I've been in that building for over 20 years now. So I started out as a clerk. I worked my way up to an input operator, and then I got hired by a small brokerage firm on the floor, and that's my day job. That's what I do. And I like to joke with folks like, all right, this is the job that fuels my shenanigans.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm able to travel. I'm able to buy whatever game I want to purchase, that sort of thing. And it's mostly true. Made some good friends there as well over the years who have definitely encouraged me to pursue my passion. So, I'm in the voice acting as well. And a lot of times they'll come up with different projects where they have to put something on a website or a social media campaign. And they're like, oh, just ask Matt to do it. He can add this to his portfolio. He can submit it when he does his
Also,
voice.
here's his hourly rate. Pay him.
Absolutely, definitely. Pay the voice actors, folks, all the time. Yeah, so they've encouraged my shenanigans over the years, but it's never directly involved gaming to
Mhm.
any sort of specific point. But yeah, I mean, the closest thing I could say, there was a great Miss Pac-Man machine in the restaurant next door for a few years. Unfortunately, that's gone, but I have good memories of that.
You always get to sneak away and get some power pellets, kill some ghosts. That's nice.
Exactly. And I'm so predictable. They know where I am. So yeah, come on down the taco shop down the street, the Miss Pac-Man machine. Yeah, you'll find me there.
Man, so like we are gentlemen of a certain age,
Yes, we are.
but you know what I miss is like having not like a mall, because like malls don't really exist anymore, but being able to go to, a city like Chicago, go downtown or like boardwalk or something and have your taco greasy spoon and then looking over and seeing a DDR machine or seeing like the old TMNT or Simpsons arcade machine. Like it hurts my soul. I think about my first arcade and I
Yes.
know it's not there anymore. And I know that people born 10 years after me never knew what that was. Like it's been 20, 25 years since that place existed. Just hurts, man. Did you have an arcade like that?
Dude, I'm so glad you asked me about this because I was reminiscing just the other day. about my favorite arcade in the whole city, which unfortunately is no longer in operation. It was right off the Belmont Red Line stop. It was called Dennis's Place for Games. And it was just the most unassuming sign. You would see it. It was just bright, just hanging there. And you're like, okay, it's an arcade. You hear all the wonderful sounds coming out of the door as you walk by. You can't help but be drawn in. So this was the first place that I played Killer Instinct and Street Fighter 3 and just all these other wonderful titles and everything. It was just a no frills, just fighter game heaven sort of arcade. You come in, you get your tokens, you spend your time, you make some friendships, and you just, go across the street over to Philly's Best and you get a slice of pizza or something. It was
Yeah,
wonderful.
dude, like Clark's now, man, be there right now. If they had MVC2, KI, any of those, like you said Street Fighter 3, and like I was transported back to the Red Baron arcade in the Mill Creek Mall in Erie, PA.
Nice. I know it's just one of those like hangout spots where you don't have to worry about being too nice and neat or anything like that. You just got to respect everybody else. You come in and you have a good time and you get the heck out.
You said respect. There is like a system of respect in an arcade. Like
Yes.
you see somebody on the MK2 machine, 3 wins in a row, you're putting your quarters up on that CRT, waiting for your turn, and it's very deliberate. You put your quarter in, you win, you've earned the spot.
There you go.
But if you lose, you don't complain. You've been able to watch that person play. You should know what they're capable of. It's up to you to figure it out. And I always loved that. It was like very cut and dry, black and white in an arcade. And
Right.
I was never amazing, but I learned some things watching other people, and then I would use them against them. And I'm like, hey man, you showed me all your goodies. Like I know you're Liu Kang. I know you're doing that bicycle kick. I know how to block now.
Exactly that. And then they want revenge immediately on occasion. So they put that
Yeah.
quarter right back in there. You're like, well, fair enough. Okay. I flew too
Uh,
close to the sun.
are you going to end up playing Marvel Tokon, or is that behind you?
I gotta check it out. It just looks too appealing to skip. Every now and then there's a fighter that just you see it teased and you see the hype around it, and you at least want to get in there like on day one so you can interact with the community online and see what's really going on in the game before they make all the little balance tweaks and everything. Find out who's like completely OP and then have a little fun with that and maybe enjoy the story if that's right too. But yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that was me in Guilty Gear. I was
Okay.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
man, this game has some style. It's got the juice, but I always like Guilty Gear for the art design. And practice, I'm not that guy. And same thing with like 2KXO. I was like, man, I love the style it is. I cannot figure out how to play this in a way that doesn't make me feel embarrassed. I'm a stick over here with Street Fighter 4. Matt, you kind of gave me a segue, but of course you do a lot of VO. And I know you've seen a lot of success with Chicago's very own Uncanny Magazine.
Oh yeah. Uncanny.
And like, if you're listening, if you're watching this, Matt's voice is such a like friendly bear hug of a voice. You can trust that voice. You love that voice. And something that you've done over the course of our years as being friends is I knew some voice actors, but I didn't like follow voice actors. But you are somebody that can pick a voice out of a cast, and you're like very good at immediately saying they did this other show, they did this other character. As somebody that's worked for Uncanny, as somebody that's done some VO work, is there anybody voice actor wise that you look up to that you've kind of wanted to emulate?
Off the top of my head, the number one in my book is Keith David.
Okay, I was like, he's going to say Dwayne McDuffie. I got this, but Keith David, dude,
Keith
taking over for
David.
Zavala, he
My
worked it.
goodness.
It's good.
Absolutely. And folks, I started to recognize him and really pick out his voice in different projects once he portrayed Goliath on Gargoyles for Disney years and years ago.
Yeah.
And of course, he's done Princess and the Frog, and, of course, Halo, like you said. He's just been in such a ton of stuff, and you just recognize his voice immediately. And I know you're kind of avoiding spoilers for certain things, so I won't say much else. But no, when you hear his voice, it means business. He means business. And he seems like a great guy too in interviews and everything like that. And so if he can have as much fun doing what he does, using his natural voice to bring joy to people, then by all means, I want to follow in those footsteps for sure.
Mhm.
You know, there have been some legends over the years. Frank Welker comes to mind. If you've seen a cartoon from the 80s or 90s or even beyond, you've heard his voice.
He's Totoro, man. I mean, we watch My Neighbor Totoro once a week because my daughter loves Totoro. Like, all Totoro does is like, I'm like, that's RoboCop. That's Frank Welker.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many voice actors out there that I really enjoy. But yeah, Keith David comes to mind. And, you know, it's funny. It was one of the games that I almost chose. And I was going to kind of cheat here and use a series of games to talk about today. Was the
There's
Saints
no
Row?
rules. We're friends.
No
It's
rules.
fine.
Everything's on the table. I was going to use the Saints Row series as my my focus.
Dude.
So, dude, I know
Saints Row the Third is a perfect game.
I was just saying that earlier today. It just hits that sweet spot of just farcical and just the hard crime stuff that they were working with beforehand. But the fourth one holds a special place in my heart because they recreated the fight between Keith David and Roddy Piper, just beat for beat,
That's
line
right.
for line, with from They Live, you know, and it was just 100% perfect. No notes. They did a great job on that. I know folks, you know, have thoughts about Saints Row and where it went, but I'll love those games. I'll die by that. I loved those games.
If I may voice an unpopular opinion, but like even a bad Saints Row,
Yeah,
pretty good. Like that reboot of Saints Row, it didn't have Johnny Gat. It didn't have what's her name.
Spondy.
Yeah. Like that family is the Fast and the Furious vibe, right? Like that is like the bedrock of what makes those games great. I want to be in this crew. And that reboot didn't exactly nail it, but like you could see shimmers of it. There's like all these moments where you're like, if you just took the shackles off, you could have made something really fantastic. And I'm always going to support an Illinois-based game studio. But man, Volition, RIP, I truly think Saints Row the Third, perfect game. Wait, is that the one that starts with you becoming president?
No, that's the fourth one is where you become president. Okay. The third one is where they all start doing a bank heist. Yeah. And they all are in costume and they all decide to dress as Johnny Gat.
They got the Johnny Gat's heads?
Yes.
Dude, remaster those games because the first one was like, tried to take itself too seriously. Then Saints Row 2, it was like, oh, you got something here. And the third one was just like a coming out party.
Mm-hmm. And talk about inclusive, man. They just changed everything on the fly if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. They had a multitude of voices on there that you could choose from for your character. I loved it, top to bottom. Saints Row 3. Oh, the soundtrack. Don't even get me started. I still listen to some of those songs.
That's a, man, if that's not your favorite game, I'm excited to hear what it is. But like, what a pull. I was working at GameStop at the time and I had only heard about Saints Row. I only really heard about the first Saints Row. But everyone would come in and talk about Saints Row 2 to the point where I was like, all right, I'll buy this. And that was the reason I really kept my 360 around for as long as I did. And then that kind of made me an Xbox kid for a while.
Yeah.
Because, man, killer games, just killer stuff. And so replayable too. Like it's like, what if Crackdown was really, really intense and good?
Yeah, that. And I recently got them on Switch because they had some crazy sale where they were on sale for like $2 a piece. I'm like, yeah, I'll put these on here if I ever, you know, have a day where I'm looking for something and I just see that pop up. Yeah, I'll play that, whatever. But I got to tell you, playing Saints Row on the Switch is just such a weird feeling. I'm like, I shouldn't be holding these Joy-Cons playing this game where I'm stealing cars and shooting people in the face. That doesn't feel quite right, but I digress.
Miyamoto likes his money.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I feel about Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be on Switch 2. And I was like, what? Yeah. How? The cell processor game on a Switch 2? This doesn't make any sense.
How far we've come.
Yeah. And like, I'm all for it. But at some point, I want to play that game. And I think might as well get it on Switch 2 just because it's hilarious. You know, Matt, dude, I could talk to you forever. I know I want these shows to be quick and juicy. I want to go to our mid-tro because I know that when we talk about your favorite game, I want to dig into that. So I'm going to ask people for money and I'm going to ask people to subscribe and then we'll be right back. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. So y'all, the Last Save Lounge is supported by Patreon and you can go to patreon.com/hoodieweather And support us for even $1 because patrons get a bonus segment each week, a bundle of hoodie weather games, and ad-free episodes in your feeds. Every episode is ad-free right now, but hey, it's going to change soon. If times are tough and you're like, I can't give you $1, I get it, man. You are also tough. You can support The Last Save Lounge by subscribing to the show right now. If you're on Spotify, click follow. If you're on Apple Podcasts, hit subscribe. If you are on YouTube, hit subscribe. Anywhere you're listening or watching the show, hit subscribe because that helps the show grows. It helps us get more guests, more listeners. If you've already subscribed, be sure to rate and review us on your podcast or video app of choice. All that stuff helps. If you're listening and you're like, I should do that, I'll wait. Thank you. Great. I'm glad you're a subscriber. Tell your friends, tell your rivals. We are not picky. I am excited to welcome back to the show Chicago's very own Matt Feeders. Matt, I don't think I said it before the show, but I'm really excited for you to talk about this. I value your time. I value your friendship. So I'm going to ask you the big question. What is your favorite game of all time?
My favorite game of all time changes from day to day. But today, my favorite game of all time is Ratchet and Clank Future Tools of Destruction.
Okay, dude. And like, I see you got Ratchet behind you. I see you got the poster. You know, I'm excited to hear about this. I like Ratchet and Clank, but I've never been deep in it like you. What is it about Ratchet and Clank that makes it your favorite game of all time?
So I have been accused of being a softie at heart, and I'll never beat those allegations.
No.
As it goes, I grew up in the very heyday of the character platformers. I know you were speaking to one Ryan Gilliam on a previous episode about all the various character platformers that have come and gone over the years. But man, those PS2 platformer days, we're talking Jack and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank. There were so many characters to choose from. It was difficult for Sony to come up with a mascot that really stuck. And so they just kind of threw everything out there. But for me, in my time and my money, Ratchet and Clank just scratched that itch. It had a little bit of everything.
I love that.
Yeah, when these games were coming around, man, they were still all the collectathons and all that stuff. And that was fine at the time because, back when those games were just starting out, you'd buy a game and you kind of just be stuck with that, especially as a kid. It's like if you've invested your money in a $50 game, yes, they used to be $50. You'd buy a game for $50 and you're like, okay, I need to make this last. So I'm going to play it once for the story. I'm going to play it twice for the collectathon. I'm going to play it a third time so I can brag about how I mastered it and beat the boss in under like 2 minutes or something. Ratchet and Clank it presented you those opportunities. And it even had a very early version of achievements and everything like that.
Did it really?
Yeah, it had like a list of different things you could do throughout the game to earn points to buy like skins and that sort of thing. And that's kind of just been like an ongoing feature of the games over the generations. But for my money, Ratchet and Clank Future was really the one that just like stood out to me. It was hard to pick just one. There've been so many, but Future did it.
Wait. So I've only played the PS5 showpiece game. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. But Jack and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, those are games that were just not in my circle when they came out. But I know Ratchet and Clank always has great titles. Tools of Destruction, great title. Going Commando, amazing. What was it? Yeah, right? Like Taboo. Like a parent would look at this and be like, what's going on? What is it about? You said Future. What is it about that one that makes it better than all the rest?
So around the time that the PS3 launched, there were a lot of different things that were just in flux at that time. So just to kind of give you like the state of where I was as a gamer at that point, I was primarily an Xbox gamer because it was the affordable option. PS3 was expensive. They took the rumble out of the controller. Everybody was a little upset about that. They were big on the 6-axis. You remember
I remember Lair. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, yeah, you're gonna use the 6-axis whether you like it or not. So for a good year, I just kind of slept on the PS3. I didn't really care about it. And then there came a point where I was going to see something at a theater called Movico. And Movico, it was great because it had a little room with different consoles and stuff, like a gamer lounge where you could go and wait for your movie and play some consoles while you're there. And just off in the corner, and it caught my eye, I saw some kid playing the first level of Ratchet and Clank Future Tools of Destruction. And it was just so smooth and so gorgeous with all these just popping colors and the great sound effects that you've come to know and love from the series. And the comedy was there, the facial expressions on Ratchet as he's falling through the sky and
It was
everything.
always like a Pixar movie level quality too.
Exactly. Exactly. They really knew how to capture the essence of what made Ratchet and Clank appealing and put it into this new series. So Future was the first game of a 3-game series. We'll say 3.5. They had a DLC game. We'll get to that later. But Future was Tools of Destruction was great because it kind of reintroduced you to the characters and it made it accessible for people that didn't follow along with the PS2 games. So we catch up with them in the middle of their story as always, and then we just get thrown into the action. And that's something that I admire about it too. You just get right to the action of the game. You don't have to sit through any elaborate cutscenes or a training mission. It's just right there. You're in it, you know? And it was just that knee-jerk reaction to seeing that gameplay at Movico. I'm like, all right, I guess I got to get a PS3. And that game itself sold me on a PlayStation. And I'm glad I got back in there. I'm still a PlayStation fan today, obviously. And
Kind of hard to be an Xbox fan at this point.
very true. Yeah, we're dying breed, you know. But
like, I got it. It hasn't been turned on, but like,
right.
I got it.
I just use it as a media server, but I'm not about to slander Xbox right now. That's not what this is about. This is about love. This is about love and respect. I was a big fan of the Xbox Live Arcade movement, you know, back then. So that took up a lot of my time. But when I saw Ratchet and Clank Future Tools of Destruction, I'm like, I need to be in this world. I need to play in this environment. And it was a great investment. As soon as I got it, I got some Blu-rays along with the PS3 because it was finally that time. But I also got Ratchet and Clank and I just played it start to finish. Loved every moment of it. So that's the one.
I love the visual of seeing something and then like your field of vision just kind of like focuses in on one thing. So I think if you play games long enough, everybody has that game something. Like Spider-Man on PS4 was really, or even Spider-Man 2 on PS2. I mean, just swinging around the city. I remember it was like the first time I heard the Beatles. I was swinging through the city and I'm like, I need that game. Let me ask you a deep question.
Okay.
So PS2 era, I think there was a lot of, it's the era of God of War. It's hyper masculine, macho, bloody knuckle fighting type games. And then Sony also did have these Ratchet and Clanks, these Jack and Daxters, medieval, even the previous generation. Did this game kind of like fill a gap for you? Is it like the realization, like, this is what I was looking for? And I know you're playing Mario right now. Like,
yeah,
what was it giving you that you weren't getting elsewhere?
Well, I'll make it a lot deeper than folks probably think this should be. I am a fan of whimsy. I'm a fan of being able to enjoy things without a stipulation of it fitting into a certain archetype of masculinity, femininity, that sort of thing. I love having fun. I love seeing people enjoy themselves. And what's great about being friends with you and being part of our friend group is that we have individuals that we are friends with that also support that. So I can talk about enjoying things like Ratchet and Clank or Mario Galaxy or, you know, whatever I'm into. And someone's going to be like, tell me more. Why do you like that? Why are you passionate about that? And I love that because it fascinates me. The things that people are into, whether it be, you know, macho, whether it be kind of goofy, I love it. Yeah. And so seeing a game like Ratchet and Clank kind of gave me, I don't want to say gave me permission to be silly and kind of just get into that.
It opens the door though.
You know, yeah, it definitely opens the door. It gives you the opportunity. We'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that about that series. And it's funny you mentioned that too, because when I got my brother a PS2 for Christmas one year, I got it from Costco. And for some reason, they decided it was a good idea to put it in a giant blister pack with.
Dude, I remember these where it's like you need to ruin the first pair of scissors, getting the top off, and then the second pair to get the side.
Then don't even try to wrap it because this is going to cut through any wrapping paper you have. So, you know, I just basically kind of hid it behind the couch and gave it to my brother when he showed up. Like, here, Merry Christmas. But it came with the first Ratchet and Clank game, a second controller, and it also came with God of War, the first one. And I'm like, at the time thinking, okay, my brother, you know, he's not really into the God of War stuff, but it was just interesting to see the vast difference between the games they decided to include. for the
Mhm.
player. But I love them both. You know, I'm all about just having a good experience. And, I like being able to be open minded like that. So, yeah,
Is there
100%.
is there a weapon in Ratchet and Clank that you remember most fondly?
My goodness. It's so funny because I was doing a little bit of a playthrough before the show today, and I remembered really enjoying the Groovatron, which basically is a grenade that you throw out, and it's just like Michael Jackson Moonwalker. Everybody on the screen has to dance, and that means everybody has to dance, from the bosses to even you. You're just gonna have to dance while you're on the screen and wait for this thing to play out. But it's so much fun just seeing that. The Sheepinator's a good one. It's a gun where you
Wait, you turn
basically
everybody into sheep?
just turn people into sheep,
Great.
But my favorite from the series, I think, is the Mr. Zircon robot. And it's just this little robot assistant you throw out, and he just talks such smack while helping you kill enemies and blow them up and everything. Mr. Zircon only knows one language, and that language is pain, or something like that. And it's just perfect. It just breaks the tension and everything. Like we've been saying, it's just whimsical. It's just fun. Oh well, of course you're blowing up everything around you, but it's still fun.
Mhm. That's that reminds me of Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. It's like, level that whole city.
Yes.
Do whatever you want. Everything's beautiful and colorful and cel shaded fantastic.
I got to stop you right there. Ultimate Destruction was on the list of
Dude,
possibilities.
it's a killer game.
It really is. It really is. They need to remaster that. Whoever is listening right now in a decision making position, I'm speaking this into faith. Hulk Ultimate Destruction, day one purchase for me. I just need somebody to whisper in my ear, like in that game, smash, smash. I need to be able to ride around a smashed bus like a skateboard.
Oh my God, I forgot you could do that. And you could have them as your fists.
Oh, just a perfect game. Bring that back. See, it's just
Well,
fun to blow stuff up.
all right, we opened up the door, but I know that before the show started, you said Ultimate Alliance was on the list too. And like, dude, if we knew each other in high school, we would be the couch co-op dudes.
Absolutely.
Like Ultimate Alliance, there's something about that game where it's just Gauntlet. It's just Gauntlet with Marvel heroes. And it's like, why mess with that formula? We need more games like that nowadays.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, man. It's a lost art for sure. The writing was crisp, the action was fun, kept you engaged. I love the writing in the Ratchet and Clank games too. That's the other thing that I haven't really even mentioned yet. One of the writers, TJ Fixman, he also did the
I know that
screenplays.
name. Why do I know that name?
Maybe because he also wrote the recent movie on Netflix that did big numbers. What's it called? Carry On, where you're in an airport and the guy, I think it was Egerton or whatever the guy's name is.
Yeah, Elton John versus
Yep.
versus Michael Bluth. Yeah,
versus the Fox
that's a
from
good
Zuko.
movie.
It was an excellent movie. And I follow TJ Fixman on socials because, yeah, he wrote some of my favorite games. So I saw he was coming out with a movie. I'm like, I gotta check this out just out of solidarity, support his work and all that stuff. But that's another thing about my enjoyment of the Ratchet and Clank games. After I played this game, I liked it so much that I sent the team a care package back when you could do that
Really?
sort of thing. So I sent a nice bottle of whiskey. Like you said, GCPD was going at the time. So I sent them a GCPD t-shirt, and I wrote a little note that went along with it just saying, thank you for inviting us into your world. This was just nonstop fun from start to finish. And yeah, I mean, the TJ was kind enough to write back and say thanks for and everything and how much it meant to him that we showed appreciation. So I'm always going to support his work in particular. He's a stand-up dude.
I love that, man. And like,
Yeah,
of
same.
course you did that. I know you. Of course you did that. There's something about giving support to these unseen artists. I think about the theory of the auteur video game creator. And like you have your Kojimas, you have your Sam Lakes, but Sam Lake is very upfront that like Remedy are the people that really bring his games to life. Kojima a little less so. But there's so many people that worked on these games, these early PS2, Xbox era games, that who's going to give them their accolades? And apparently it's you. I had a buddy of mine, Kyle Bailey. He worked at Midway, I think. He's working at a much larger, different studio now. But when I met him, he was like, yeah, I work on video games. And I was like, oh, I like to play games. What did you work on? And he said, John Woo's Stranglehold. And I was like, dude, do you know how much John Woo's Stranglehold I've played? And he was like, the game's fine. And I'm like, it's a 7 out of 10 game, but it
Let's
is
go back. Hold on.
incredible. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
and he would tell me stories about development. You know, I don't want to tell tales out of school, but he would tell me things like, yeah, we tried to do this to make the levels different and try to do that. And I was like, dude, you got to slide down a T-Rex's tail and shoot people as Chow Yun Fat. Like, that
Come
game
on.
rules. And I don't think anyone's ever given him like the amount of love I've given him, but like, they deserve it, man. They need to know that they're appreciated. I love that you sent them whiskey. They probably went through that in a day.
I hope so. You know, I hope it inspired the next couple of games because they did a great job. Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this, because we're getting to about 45 minutes in the show. I want to wrap up, and I also have a question for the bonus segment I want to ask you.
Okay.
But if you could send a bottle of whiskey to anyone who's made a game you played recently, who deserves the praise right now out of what you played?
Wow. Okay. Well, I almost want to give a bottle of whiskey to, and his name escapes me right now, but the gentleman that created Katamari Damacy, because that first game was so perfect. And I need him to recapture that just complete randomness to go back and make a third or fourth one or something like that, you know, because they've kind of just been coasting for a little while now in a good way, but just, you know,
it's not the same.
we've re-rolled over the same object several times. Now I think we can go bigger, but that's just.
No, I feel you. When we made the move here, I got rid of a lot of my physical media library. And when it came time to get rid of Katamari, I was like, well, I'm going to keep those, but we should have one digital. So like, you need one Katamari game. I couldn't get the first one, and none of them hit the same highs that first one did, you know?
For
And
sure.
maybe it was the fact that it was new. Maybe we hadn't seen it before, but I'm right there with you.
I think ultimately my answer has to be the team at Housemarque. Is it Housemarque or Housemarque?
Housemarque. You excited
Housemarque.
for Sorrows?
I am so excited for Sorrows because let me tell you, Returnal is a game that I went into and I was just so disappointed with at first. I'm like, I dislike this game so much. I cannot stand this game. But all of a sudden, I'm like, why don't I like this game? Why is it bothering me? It's because it was so different than anything else that I had played up until that point, where I had to dig in and just keep on grinding away at it and figure out how to make it work for me. And then to be surprised that there was a very interesting story there. When they had been planting seeds in my mind this entire time subconsciously, it became one of my favorites of all time. So they deserve a drink on me, at least for that alone.
Well, I mean, what, April 17th, Rahul Kohli is going to jump into Sorrows. I'm going to be there day one. Killer game. And I'll share one thing about it, because I was there day one. I was so excited. That game was too scary for me.
Yeah.
But I'm playing it and I was just like, this doesn't seem like it's for me. I see what they're doing. It's just not the flavor I want right now. My wife, Liz, she was like, I'll play this.
Go Liz.
And I was like, oh shit. Liz played for like 30 hours and I'm just like, you know, popcorn next to her every night. Just like, ooh, what about this? What about that? She's like, shut up. I need to do this. Co-op mode came out and like, we haven't gotten back to it, but those games are special. Like from Resogun, that launch game on PS4, they just put a lot of love into their games. I'm happy to see they've got a bottle of whiskey on the way, and I think they're going to blow up even more than they have from Returnal.
Let's hope so. Knock on wood, man. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
All right. Well, dang, Matt, I really love talking to you today. I especially love talking to you about Ratchet and Clank. Like, you showed up, you like just freaking brought it. Before we end, do you have any parting thoughts about Ratchet and Clank you want to send out to the universe?
Well, I definitely want to say rest in peace to the voice actor for Captain Port, Jim Ward. He did an amazing job every single time bringing that character to life. And I'm looking forward to the next game from Insomniac. I would love for them to come back to Ratchet and Clank, but I understand that Marvel money, those pockets are deep, sir. And Wolverine is on the horizon, so I'm absolutely looking forward to that. But yeah, folks, if you're listening to this, you're watching this, there's no bad Ratchet and Clank game to jump into. Quest for Booty would be kind of low on the list, but the other ones are wonderful jumping on points wherever you are. So have fun, get in there.
Experience some whimsy. You deserve some whimsy.
Everybody does.
Hey, Matt, where can we find you online if we want to stalk you online?
You can find me in most places as Mighty Ink Matt on pretty much every social except for Twitter, because that's dead to me. But
Yeah.
everything else, I'm there.
Love it. Well, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Last Save Lounge. If you are a patron of Hoodie Weather, you're going to get one short, happy little question with me and Matt when we're done here. But if not, we're going to end the show here. But remember, rate, review us on your podcast app of choice, click subscribe, and hey, we're going to see you next Tuesday with another guest talking about a game that impacted their life. Matt, thanks so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great talking to you, Aaron.
You too, dude. All right. Bye.